but there's rules to being giving. Okay? And it may sound mean, but it's not mean. You give from your surplus. You give from your surplus. And that also includes lending. You never lend what you cannot give. And that's why you have to have the idea that you give from your surplus. Get it? A friend of yours is like, oh my goodness, I don't have nothing to eat in the house. There's no food, you know? Don't feel weird. Don't feel bad. Don't feel embarrassed. You know what I mean? Because you have to also analyze what the reality is. If the reality is that the reason they don't have food in their house is because they're misspending their money, then that's their problem. The fact that you have money means that you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're not overspending it. You're not spending it on frivolous things. You're saving it. You know what I mean? So why should you, from what you sacrificed to save and to have, give to someone who is being frivolous and careless and carefree with their money? We each have to live with the consequences of our actions and decisions. That's been their decision. So they have to be able to enjoy the consequences of their decision. You got me? So to give or not to give, you give from your surplus. And people are like, oh, but that's not being kind and that's not being whatever, Christian or religious. If you think about it, when it comes to the person you worship, okay, definitely you give from even what you don't have. Okay? The illustration of the widow that, well, not even illustration, it was like an experience, right, where there was a lady that had the two leptons and she gave that, you know and it was observed as her giving from her indigence. But don't forget, that was a sacrifice she was making to her creator. People are not our creators, so you don't have to make those kinds of sacrifices for them. You're not expected to make that kind of a sacrifice. To give from your indigence, no. You can give from your indigence to your creator, you know, or to something that you really, really, really know that is necessary, is essential. But no, no, you don't starve so that someone else can eat unless you're their parent. You get what I'm saying? So the answer to give or not to give, you give from your surplus. You don't give from your indigence. You have to be balanced. And you also have to take into consideration, if you are an independent person, if you don't have, you don't have. And if people depend on you, like children or maybe a parent you're taking care of or whatever, if you don't have, they don't have. So you giving to a person, guess what? 4 days down the line, you're gonna need that $40 that you just lent out or gave out. So you need to think about those things and be like, wait a minute. Let me hold up. Sorry, no, can't give you. You know what I mean? Now, if it's food, that's different. You know what I mean? Like y'all can share. Like there's a saying where two eat, four can eat, and I do believe that. You can, if you got food for two, you know what? Let's take it, cut it half and half. Maybe add some beans or something to make it expand. You know, and make four, maybe four can eat from there. That's one thing. And let me tell you another thing about that. If the person is like, oh, I don't eat this, guess what? I will never, never offer you again. I am petty when it comes to things like that. Me giving from the heart and you're like, oh no. Now, don't get me wrong. I can understand when a person is able to say that they don't want a specific gift or they don't want a specific thing, but there's something different when you're offering from your indigence or you're offering from you, and the person says no. I don't know. Y'all talk to me about that. Maybe I'm being hypersensitive still about that. But yeah, I don't play that. You tell me no about that, I'm like, okay, fine. I'll never offer you that ever. I never offer you anything ever. All right, guys. So hopefully this goes through. I don't know how it's gonna go through because it's raining here, so I guess the Wi-Fi is being affected. So we'll see how this goes through. Love you guys. Holla.